please. Good evening. This is the Raleigh Finance Committee meeting of April 8th, 2014. It is now 7:20 p.m. and call the meeting to order. This meeting is being videotaped. And the first order of business is to review the town draft meeting warrant. Now, is this for the special town meeting, correct?
This is the special town meeting.
Okay.
We did the annual last week.
I just didn't know whether we wanted to review that or not. That's fine with me. Okay. Everyone have the special town meeting warrant?
Perfect.
Okay. Hopefully we've all read it. 1, 2, and 3, Finance Committee has no action. Article 4, transferring $4,000 from the Essex Regional Retirement, added to line 7 of the Selectmen's expense. Is there any discussion?
I had a couple of questions. My question was, what is the actual cost for town meeting? Is that the $22,117, or is that?
No, it's actually, the cost for a town meeting runs anywhere from $3,500 to $4,000 for mailing, printing, the warrant. So we move that money into the Selectmen's expense line to pay for town meeting.
Okay.
So that the total amount reflects the Selectmen's expense budget, which includes a transfer at the November town meeting to pay for that cost as well.
Okay. So we don't have a special.
We don't have a budget for town meeting.
For town meeting, okay.
It's always out of the Selectmen's expense in case they have to call a meeting right away or something. They can just pay for it right out of Selectmen's expense.
I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 4.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Article 5, transferring $29,866 collective bargaining reserve to pay for the costs with the bargaining agreements. Any discussion? No discussion. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We
To
accept.
recommend? Okay. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Article 6, excuse me, transferring $2,500, line 27, microfilming continuation.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, have a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
You have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Article 7, $1,500 from line 146.
I just had a
Yeah.
question, if somebody could just explain that to me, because I'm not familiar with that. Is that just a stipend for somebody that?
Yes,
is doing-
we have, the Board of Selectmen has appointed actually Karen O'Donnell, our Assistant Treasurer Collector, as the CPA Administrator. We had a resignation in October of the CPA Administrator. She held a different position in the town, so we needed somebody to fulfill that. So what Karen does, this is above and beyond her job as Assistant Treasurer Collector. She maintains all the CPA accounts. She attends the CPC meetings. She provides, she's the staff. She staffs the CPC, the Community Preservation Committee. So she does a variety of tasks. We've changed the way we pay stipends now. The predecessor had left and had a practice of getting a $2,000 stipend in July at the start of the fiscal year. So the selectmen have stopped that practice, and they pay it out on a quarterly basis. So Karen's been doing this since the fall, so this will compensate her for this work that she's been doing.
Thank you.
I think all stipends are now on a quarterly basis rather than
That's right.
at the beginning of the year. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I'll make a motion that we approve Article 7.
I have a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 8, transferring $3,659.75, Water Department. Just for the higher than anticipated fees. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Article 9, $171,200 for capital purchases and improvements. Any questions or discussions on the,
No, you do have comments on this one.
okay,
Well, I'm just wondering, because I know that we use the CPA money for some stuff, and other things we don't use it. I was just wondering why we couldn't have used some of the CPA money maybe to replace the rotted areas of the town loft and stuff. What would be, why we go in this direction with
You
this?
really can't do that, Peter, because it's classified as maintenance. It's not restoration, it's maintenance of the town law. Maintenance costs are not covered under CPA.
Okay, so like when we did replace the town clock in town hall, that was
That's a restoration.
restoration.
Of a
so
historical
that's-
building.
So
Historical.
historical, well,
Historical building, the
you could
town
make an
wants.
argument that the loft is historical too. It's been there for, no?
It has to be historically related, like, buildings are 100 years old, cemetery fences,
Mhm.
certain age of town common, things like that.
But we use the CPA for other purposes too, like.
You can buy land with it, you can, we use it
Use it for
for
ball fields, for
affordable housing,
recreational
recreation, we
purposes.
can use it for
But
recreation.
you can't use it for anything of this nature, okay.
I mean, some things we have to actually pay for out of regular tax funds. We can't throw everything on the CPA.
Oh, I know, it's just, thinking about,
Yeah, no, it's a good
Mhm.
question, but, yeah, that wouldn't qualify.
so what about the town hall annex purchasing and installing, okay, so that's not considered, that's more of a
Yeah,
maintenance
it's a
thing
maintenance
again?
issue. Yep.
Okay.
Well, if you look at the, right after that, it says purchasing and installing new flooring and ceilings for the town hall. Well, originally, that was CPA money because it was gonna be restored to a historical manner. In other words, get it down to the floors and stuff like that. Well, it turns out that it'd be cost prohibitive to do that because we're gonna expose, possible exposure of asbestos tiles and things like that.
Oh,
So
okay.
therefore, we're gonna overlay it, so we've taken the money out of the CPA. We're not gonna be able to use CPA money, we'll be using regular funds out of this article to do that, because it's no longer gonna be a historical renovation, it's gonna be a maintenance type renovation. So it's a fine line, but it's kind of what it is, all kinds of rules and regulations that we are required to follow, so.
Thank you.
I had a question on the number 3, about the tractor and the council of aging vehicle. I just wondered what the split was between those two. How much was it for the tractor? Because it just seemed like a small amount of money, so I'm assuming it's a small tractor.
Yeah, they're just looking for something they can park in the building that's over there.
Yeah, because that was my other question, is
They
that
need,
building
I
big
think
enough to
what did they
park
say,
it
a
in?
2-yard or a 3-yard bucket on it?
Yeah.
It's gonna be kinda like a Kubota type tractor.
It'll fit in that barn, you think?
Yeah, they supposedly measured it and it's gonna fit in the maintenance building over there. So that was their argument when they came in, and they wanted something small that they could use over there to, what's the tree truck, about 1988 or something? Floors falling out of it. They got a dump truck over there, it's a 1.5 tons.
Yeah, but you can put that outside, but I'm assuming the tractor would
Truck's
need to
going
be
inside.
inside, so.
That's why it's small.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, have a motion to recommend?
I'll make the motion, we approve Article 9.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Article 10. It's just selling the van rather than using it as to trade it in against another vehicle. Any questions or comments on this?
It's going back to the general fund anyway, the sale, right? So you can't be getting much money for 2005 Chevy, I wouldn't think, so.
So at least it'll be out of there.
No,
They won't have to look at it.
right,
Taking a parking space right now,
Yeah.
valuable parking space.
and depreciating.
Fast.
I was talking to the highway surveyor, he was working with Mary Ellen at the council on looking at a vehicle to purchase for the council, assuming that other article passes. We talked about trading this in, and basically it's, nobody wants it, it's not handicapped accessible. The seats are made for school kids rather than adults. It's just,
Yeah, you need a CDL license to drive it.
$200 for it.
So,
A few years back, we did that with a Cruiser, an old Cruiser.
hmm,
Dealer was gonna give us, $100 for it, and we actually ended up selling it for about $800 on an auction type sale. So, whatever, we mainly wanna get rid of it, and if we can get a few bucks for it, that's fine.
right.
They're not looking for another van though, right, to
That's,
replace that?
they're buying the car in the
Car.
previous article in place of the van, because the van just, they don't need two vans, but they need a car so they can transport people to doctor's appointments.
Getting short trips at the.
Short trips around
Pick
town.
somebody up to bring them down to the council, or take them, they need to go to the drugstore to get some medications or something like that. It gives them.
It's a lot more fuel efficient too.
Exactly, rather than using a bus to do it.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion to recommend.
So moved?
We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Article 11, transferring 60,000.
This is the article I just mentioned about the floors. In other words, we're giving that money, taking it away from the floor project because it really is not a historical renovation, and we're putting it into the windows because we need, upstairs we did the windows in the auditorium, but we need to do the upstairs windows on this end, and the upstairs windows on that end, plus whatever money we have left over, we're gonna start doing all the windows downstairs here in the same material and same format as we did upstairs, but, so we're hoping that'll do pretty close to the whole building.
I will move the article.
Yeah, okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
These windows, you restore them, but they're also, have the latest up-to-date.
No, the new energy, the new windows that are high energy, triple pane glass, they're all,
So what makes them,
Right.
what makes them CPA relevant? Is it-
Restore.
they look just like
rather
the
than-
old ones.
They look.
They're especially made to imitate
The historic
Okay.
ones.
the historic windows that were up there.
Right.
They did some work on the sills, right?
Yeah, we don't want to put wood back up there, it just doesn't, with the building being in use, you gotta be practical as well as historical, so it's.
So you use other materials as long as it looks like it looks like it's
It
old.
was approved by the Historic Commission, so that's the key there.
The only thing we don't get is wavy glass.
What?
The only thing we
Wavy
don't
glass.
get is
No, wavy
wavy
glass.
glass.
Yeah.
Glass. Oh.
You look out those windows, you'll see it's original,
Oh,
1904.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lead or something's in them.
Well, those wouldn't be hand poured. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Need a motion
We already
to,
have a motion and a second, I think, on this one, right?
oh, that's right, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Article 12. This is CPC funds, 12,000. Cover unforeseen costs. Any discussion or questions on this?
I just had one question, it's just more, just to educate myself as a new member. Does the town have like a 5-year capital facilities plan for the buildings that, when somebody can look add a plan that would show that 4 years down the road, this building is going to need windows and this building is going to need a roof or something, so that you can kind of get a
Just
snapshot.
We're just starting it.
Basically, we do have a 5-year plan as of this year, but as you can probably tell, Dennis, these windows haven't been touched since 1904.
But just, you know,
We just created, we've
Yeah.
just been working on it. We've been doing it informally, but this year we had the capital team of Bob and Dave and me and Doreen. We've put together by soliciting all the needs on everything in the town, not just facilities, that's one category, vehicles, technology is another one. So we've just started that, and this is part of year one, funding for year one of that plan.
that's a good thing to do, because then you can kind of see what's coming down the road, and sometimes you don't want to see what's coming down the road, but if like 3 people or 3 departments came in and all looking for the same thing and they all had the same need, you could kind of separate it out if you could.
This year, we solicited a 5-year plan from each of the department heads as to what they foresee as capital
Okay,
needs.
good.
And that previous article for the $171,000, that was the first year's purchasing for that. So each year, we'll solicit a new, add
Update,
things
yeah.
that are in year 2.
Yeah.
We just kind of arbitrarily assign things to years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I mean, it changes.
And then we'll be adding things, and we're also looking at, if you know, one department needs something that maybe the highway department might need a new truck, maybe we can give the old truck to the cemetery department to replace that, you know, like those kinds of issues that
Yeah.
are being discussed, and we're really starting to get into that process now, and looking forward the next couple of years to really implementing a true plan, and that way each department can see what everybody else is buying.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
kind of hopefully fit into that schedule, so.
Thanks.
Okay, and any other discussion? Okay, can I have a motion to recommend Article 12?
I'll make the motion, we approve Article 12.
Okay, have a motion, do I have a second?
Aye. I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
Have a second, all in favor? Article 13, transferring CPC funds, 40,000. This is for the jewel mill.
I have a question on that. How do they
Sure.
determine, was it out to bid, or like where they came up with the 40? They had the total grant of 50, is that really what it cost?
They had an engineering firm come in and do a whole study on the wheel and the bridge and what needed to be done, and that's how they came up with the $40,000.
Seems like a lot, but I don't know.
And it won't be done without the restriction, right?
Right, they were waiting before any of the money's released. This is one of those private projects that they put in far into the CPC for historic. Obviously, the jewel mill is historical in this community, and they're waiting for the state historical commission to okay. They have to approve the historical restriction on it, so they won't get any. If this passes, they won't get any money until that's approved by the state and ultimately by the town boards here. So.
It's not so much the jewel mill itself, it's the site, it's the Glen Mills Historic District, and it was set aside specifically for that district in that area. And it's the site of the first spooling mill in the colonies. In 1643, they defied the king of England and started making their own cloth, which around 1775 turned into a revolution. They finally took enough of the king's demands when they put the taxes on them. And they were basically sent over here from England to supply materials back to England so England could sell them supplies. So you couldn't buy glass here. There's nobody making glass here in that time frame. So they had to ship it over from England. So England sold it to them. Cloth was the same thing. England made the cloth, shipped it over here and sold it to them. Well, unfortunately for England, the people that came with Rogers were in the cloth business in England. So they said, this is crazy, we're not going to do this. So they built the mill,
And stole his thunder.
put the dam in, built the mill, and the rest is history.
All right, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 13.
Second.
Motion and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Article 14, this is the Girl Scout camp.
Yeah, this one here,
Yes.
we're taking $1,700,000 from the CPC available funds. And then we're allowed to, the bond council has determined that we're, in conjunction with the CPC, that we're able to borrow $800,000. So it's a split of funds, similar to what we do with the Broad Street property. So that's for a total sale of $2,500,000. The assessment that, when we had our appraiser committee, he appraised, our appraiser appraised the property at $2.9 million. Girl Scout property appraiser, Girl Scouts assessed it at $3.1 million. And the Girl Scouts, because they want the land preserved as a open space and conservation, and they'd love to see a camping facility type YMCA or something like that, they agreed to sell it to us for $2.5 million.
So how much is available in CPC money? Like every year, is it like a couple $1 million that we have available for funds?
That sheet right
Every email we
Yeah,
do.
I think,
So,
We all
It's
got it.
303,000.
how much is it?
Uncommitted.
If everything is spent, if we spend all the money,
That's what's left.
303.
that's obviously that's a big hit.
Right.
But a well
How
spent.
much have we been getting every year, do we normally get? For
In,
income?
in receipts that come
Yeah,
in
tax
from
receipts
taxes.
plus state
So,
money.
next year we anticipate 358,000.
Or would it be tax receipts, we're gonna get more than,
That's with the tax receipts, and then the state match is 23%. Well, that's what they're estimating. This year, the match was 30%.
Back in the day, it used to be 100%.
I remember those
So-
days.
Wow.
Wow. In town.
Yeah, that's what the statute provided for, as usual.
For a minute.
The state doesn't live up to its end.
But we were one
So
of the
really-
few towns that got right in on it.
When you
Even
take,
on the first
when you
round.
take on
Yeah.
something large like this Girl Scout thing, you're really, shutting yourself out for several years going forward now to take on another big project, at least probably, another 7 or 8 years before you can entertain another one. I mean, because if you're taking in about 300,000, and this was 2.5 million, if you even amortize that over, it just.
Well, part of it is going to be bonded across several years, just at
How
the
many
same
years?
as Brad Street.
About
I
20,
don't know that.
20, but I'm saying you can't keep on doing that because you don't have funds to do that every year, to buy large pieces of property like this. Like the Brad Street property,
Brad Street property was a King's grant.
what's that?
Brad Street property was a King's grant. It exceeds the town of Raleigh by 4 years. The land was there and
Yeah.
being lived on 4 years before Raleigh was even found, before it was even created. You don't run into too many of these, and I don't know of any other piece this size that would, with this kind of money, that would be coming down the pike anytime soon. And one of the best parts of this, first, the open space plan identified that particular parcel right off the first time that they went out with a plan as something that should be looked at when it becomes available. The second thing is it backs up to Harris Park. So, I mean, we now have recreation from Havel Street basically to Weathersfield Street. Cross-country skiing, for hiking, those types of things. There's other open space land out there in that area. There's been several parcels donated to the town just around the corner from there. That's all tied together. Greenbelt has some land out there. Greenbelt had identified that particular parcel of land as something that should be acquired and used for this purpose. So the alternative is that the Girl Scouts put it on the market and they put in 50, 60, 70 houses out there.
I think it's good to buy. I'm just curious of how much, the variability of future funds now to buy other tracts of land. Does this
I
preclude us from
think
buying
you know what you
anything
get
from,
at this point, we're not anticipating going out and buying another big chunk of land.
No, I don't think there's anything
Just for
available.
the sake of buying land, we're looking
Uh,
at
it-
specific pieces for specific purposes, and this was a deal that was too good to be turned down if we had the money to purchase, just because of the sheer size, the location, right in the center of town, how it abuts the other property you already own. We're really looking at setting up a camp type, working with a group such as the YMCA or other camp group and they've expressed some interest in running a camp out of there, again, similar to what the Girl Scouts did. So it's a recreational, a huge recreational opportunity for the town. It's good land, and it's land that it's not currently being taxed, so it's not like we're taking it off the tax rate. And secondly, as Bob said, it's probably potentially 50, 60 houses out there, which is, that's tax money, but it also is probably going to be a lot of kids for the school system. So it's a combination of factors that all come together to make this an ideal purchase. And looking ahead right now, the board kind of has said there's not many other pieces out there, and we're not buying land just for the sake of buying land. In other words, it really needs to fit a purpose. And the Bradstreet was a very, very historical piece.
Yeah.
It had some multiple uses, and we're using it for recreation and historic and be some affordable housing going out there. So you really have to look at the tracks and see what we're doing. And we haven't, we had that 1.5 million or 1.7 million available because we haven't been spending it. It's been accumulating over the years. So yeah, it's going to be a few years before we accumulate that kind of money again. But it's just a track that we want to have, and it's very valuable, and I think the townspeople in general agree that it's...
And there should
It's
still be money available for smaller projects.
Yeah,
which,
for small, but
I mean,
nothing
it's not,
big as this.
we wouldn't be able to do large
Like this.
purchases, but there would still be funds available for smaller projects.
And I'm assuming we would spend probably some money down the road to better this property as well, to make it...
No, because most of it is going to be left as open space or conservation land, so that you really can't... The Girl Scout camp portion is where we're really anticipating. Now, there may be some other recreational things we may want to do out there, but at this point, the next couple of years, I think we're going to be working with that Girl Scout camp property, because there's a number of buildings out there, there's a swimming pool. That's all going to be, we're looking to... We don't want to maintain that, so we're looking for someone to come in and for a nominal fee to us, run the camp, maintain the buildings, and it would give something for residents, our kids and as well as adults would have someplace in town to go for recreational and all kinds of activities that we really don't have available in this town right now. You have to go to Ipswich or Newburyport to get these kind
And there
of
has been
facilities.
interest by two other groups in using the facilities, or taking them over, working with Rowley as far as having a camp for special needs children and stuff like that. So there are groups that are interested, should we buy the land of using it along those same purposes as what the Girl Scout camp was. So,
I have just one other question, not that we're thinking way down the road there, but is there any part of this land that, say, the town needed some revenue 10 years down the road or something you could cut out to sell off to, or is it all?
You can't, because once we buy it with using CPC funds,
So it's for
any
recreation.
funds that come back have to go back to the CPC. For instance, the Bradstreet property, we sold the old Bradstreet house and barn,
Yeah.
and that money went back into the CPC fund. So if the town wants to use it for something else, we would have to literally
Yeah.
use taxpayer money to buy the land from the CPC, then we could use it for something else. But it's really, the intent is here is for recreation and conservation purposes primarily.
I just wanted to mention that I read the article in the Newburyport News, and I read it online, and I read some of the comments that people made afterwards, and they were going, oh, another piece of property that we're going to lose tax revenue on. So when you're making your pitch, make sure you tell them that it wasn't taxed anyway.
Yeah, no, we've done that. We made that pitch last year at the
Yeah.
town meeting when we were talking about this. And it's an important
important
Prospect,
thing, yeah.
because most of the time, like the Brad Street property, when we bought that, we literally took it off the tax rolls.
Yeah, but this one
But
isn't.
This one isn't. This is an
Yeah.
even swap for us. And, you know, some people are gonna say, well, let's build the houses out there and get the tax money anyway.
And then we need more
But
schools.
you gotta look at, you gotta weigh
Right.
it, and the value of that property to the town, instead of tax money, is, at least in our point of view, and we hope it's the citizens' point of view, is much, much more valuable than what you might get out of there for tax purposes, particularly if you're looking at houses being built where they're really gonna increase the school population, which is gonna pretty much wipe out any tax
It's gonna be a negative.
increase that we get.
Right.
It could well be a negative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you put 2 kids in the school system, that's $10,000. They'll be paying $3, $4, $5,000 in taxes for each house.
Right. Plus, there's the road maintenance, running the water
All
lines,
kinds
and
of
everything
services.
else.
Right.
We can't buy them all, but we
Right.
can do something like this where we can find a use for it, and particularly with, as Dave said, with somebody that wants to maybe step in there and take care of the camping facilities, that won't be a burden to the town.
Right.
And, the town will certainly gain from the recreation uses up there.
It's probably one of the more key properties, I think, in town, in terms of size and location and availability. In other words, it's right there off of Weathersfield Street, there's parking, you know, it's very accessible to people when, like Bob mentioned, you know, cross-country skiing, hiking. If they do develop a camp there, I'm sure the scouts are gonna be able to use it for hiking and conservation and camping things out there. There's just a host of things to do. And when we did talk to the Y to see if Ipswich Y, to see if they might be interested, they're really excited about bidding on using this piece of property because they're looking to expand their camping facilities in the area. They're looking to get more involved in Raleigh, so I mean, they may not get it. You need somebody with deep pockets, so it's probably gonna be someone like them, and I don't know what other outfits are around, but, you know, it's a situation that there's so many opportunities that if we take advantage of them, I mean, if we just sit back, once we get the property, if we just sit back and do nothing, then, you know, the buildings are gonna fall apart, and there's a house out there which the Girl Scouts have a caretaker living in and watching over the property. We've gotta decide that, what we do with that. There's a lot of work to be done if we take this property and move forward with it. So this is just the start of a long project. We need lots of help on and lots of ideas. And the big thing we'll be looking for is to develop the camp and keep it. Don't let it deteriorate. The Girl Scouts haven't used the camp in 3 years, so if we can't get going on it in the next year, we're gonna have real major maintenance problems with those buildings and stuff. So, yeah, it's a huge project, and the board's decided that we're more than willing to take it on.
I'm glad we get the money to do it.
Yes, we're very fortunate.
And I think, you know, as a selectman sitting here at the table, you look at these types of projects, and there has to be some compelling interest there. And the example is with Brad Street. We're looking at that farm, it's about 120 acres or so, something like that. But there's 1 mile or more of river frontage that goes with that property. And that particular area down there is an area of environmental concern. It's classified by the DEP as that. So if you can pick up that piece of property and preserve it and save it, you've added to the benefit of the people in town by having that type of land available. And with the Girl Scout camp, we're spending less money on the Girl Scout camp than we did on Brad Street. And we got plus or minus 200 acres there. So, I mean, it's another reason, plus the camping facilities. And as Dave said, the YMCA came in and they were just, I mean, it was very lifting for us to know that somebody like them would be interested in doing something like that and supplying the services, the recreation services to the community. Right in our own backyard, rather than, as Dave said, going to Newburyport or Haverhill or Ipswich or something like that. So,
Bob, is that Batchelor Brook that runs through there?
Batchelor Brook, yes.
Batchelor Brook that runs through and feeds into the Mill River, so there's another watershed area that conservation area that we really want to protect. I mean, just there's so many pluses to this piece of property. It's just, we're hopeful that the townspeople understand and really will latch on to this because, like I say, it's a once, for us, for the town of Raleigh, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Just my
We have to try
opinion,
for.
I'm sorry, my opinion though is I think, it's nice to have this land and it's good for them, but really, a lot of people don't use a seat unless there's some compelling reason to go there. Like if they had, like I thought before for the Brad Street, if that big garage, big oversized garage they made into a rec center for a dance hall for kids and teenagers, that would be something that would be good, because that would be something constructive that they would have that they could go to. But just buying up tracts of land and then not having them developed or used for anything, and I can understand, it's nice to have all this undeveloped land, but some of it maybe can be used if they, if they wanted to
Well,
put
this
like
is
a
why
rec
it's
center
key
or
for
something like
us.
that.
The why proposal is key to us, because that's exactly what you're saying. In other words, if we were to keep the Brad Street property and make it into some, we'd have to go to the taxpayers and say, all right, fine, we need, $750,000 to renovate the barn and make it into, and then somebody's gotta run the dance hall or run the, even if we want to, instead of selling the house, to lease the house out, who in the town government is gonna be responsible to spend the money to renovate it, to make it leasable, and then maintain the lease and the maintenance? I mean, we're not in the rental business per se. That's why with the Girl Scout property, what we're looking for is, we want it. The camp is a key part of that proposal, and then that's why we want to say, okay, fine, if a group, a nonprofit group can come in and, pay us $1 a year or some nominal fee, if they will maintain the buildings, and we'll get some use out of these and have programs available for, for kids and adults, that the kind of programs that the Y is involved in, is just a plus, that it isn't just a vacant piece of land not being used. And it's something that the camp there, we'd be hopeful that the scouts could go out there on weekends and use it and hike through the area and do some conservation work. And, this is an opportunity for us to do exactly what you're saying, Peter. And yet we know tax-wise, people are never going to give us $1 million on a bond issue to just go out and build a recreation center there. It just isn't, we can't get people to give us the money to build a ball field, so.
The barn, though, has a historic preservation restriction on it, and Bob Murray can probably provide some commentary. The interior of that, there are actually several features in the inside that are part of that and cataloged and on file with Mass Historical. So there's some structural impediments to even do what you're saying. I think you'd be spending probably $1 million to. Yeah, the barn is under the historic preservation
I've been in
restriction.
that barn, though. You don't really have to do too much to put some ping pong tables or pool tables or make a dance hall.
Get an occupancy permit for that?
I don't know about that part
For
of it.
having a youth center? It's
Does it require that much renovation?
There's significant,
Right.
it's really,
The restriction is on the outside and the inside.
yeah, they're interior
On the barn.
beams and things
There's only one
that,
other barn in the town of Raleigh that was built possibly by the same carpenter. There's only 2 of them left.
So why would you have to change any of the interior, though?
Well,
I
you've
don't
got
still
to.
understand.
To make a
Public
recreation
safety
hall?
is the
Well,
first issue.
the
Safety.
floor, what you need is a floor, but the walls are
You gotta
okay.
insulate it, you gotta,
Oh,
all kinds of fire codes.
Make it
For
fire
insulate-
resistant,
Absolutely.
You got some huge,
I mean, it's
install
not like it used to be.
sanitary
years ago,
facilities.
where you just do a building and then walk away. You can't do that anymore. That's why we have no camps left in this town. The Salem Fraternity Camp down on the end of Patmos Road basically got to the point where the requirements to run a camp like that got so stringent that they couldn't do it anymore. And they wound up donating the land to Greenbelt. And the camp closed. I mean, I can remember in Sharon, Kent too. Back in the 40s and 50s, those kids would come in on a train, they'd go down with a wagon, pick them up and drive them down there with a horse and wagon when they were down there working, when they're down there for the summer. I can remember walking uptown, going to McDonald's drugstore to get an ice cream. So it was a camp that the Salem kids that were underprivileged, that they had a place to go in the summertime. We spent 3 or 4 weeks down there. They got rowing boats down there. They'd go out in the creek and row and swim and play baseball. Those things, you just can't do it anymore because of the requirements of state law. Well, that was always a pleasure, you know, they had a good time doing that.
It's part of the recreation.
An exercise.
Can I ask one question about the
Sure.
community preservation? Like, I'm not sure, like, with the new bond, we're talking about $800,000, right? Want to borrow $800,000? So where would that fit, where would that appear on here then once you,
It would, it's not coming from there, I don't think, right? That's
Well,
But
this
it's-
is the CPC runoff. that we-
1.7.
So-
No.
but it has like undesignated balances.
Well, if you look at the debt, where the Brad Street, that's where is an example of the Brad Street. In other words, the principal's 110,000, and the interest is 88,000.
Yeah.
The latest, the current.
Mhm.
So that's where it would be spread out the same way as that over 20 years, I believe, is what they're talking about,
Right.
the bond issue.
Okay, so you would show 800,000 and then, whatever the interest payments are for, this is a 1 year interest, right?
There's 2 interest payments over the course of a year.
True, but I'm
For
saying
Bradstreet.
it's in, this is for 1 year though. This scheduled, all these interests.
This balance sheet, yes, is a picture of what's happening within this fiscal year.
So like Dave says, they would see if this is approved and gets on, we'll have $800,000 listed here for.
Well, it wouldn't be $800,000 all at once. It would be spread over the
20
20-year period.
Mhm.
So you like your mortgage, you.
Okay,
much
so it would be-
principal interest per year for.
Right.
Right, this is just the amount for 1 year for the principal, okay, so it would be 120 of 800,000 or something, or 130 of that. so-
I don't have all those figures.
Okay,
Yeah, basically, it would be divided up for 20 years into the 800,000,
Right.
and then
Plus interest,
And the way the principal works, the way the bonding works, the principal works down and the interest is paid each year, so. This doesn't show us what the actual bond payment is left on Brad Street, we don't know. I mean, how much money do we still owe on Brad Street for, as an aggregate? This is the payment. It doesn't show us what, we owe still $2 million on Brad, I have no idea, but, it's, but the article would show up the same way. And we have to be careful that, as I understand it, the big thing with the bond payments is we can only indebt ourselves to the money that we collect from our taxpayers. We cannot borrow based on the state match, because we never know for sure what the state match is gonna be, so.
Right.
It inhibits our ability to bond.
okay.
Okay, any other questions, Peter?
No.
Anybody?
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept Article 14, or to recommend it?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Article 15. Another CPC, 40,000. Pay for the costs of,
Yeah, this
The
one
land.
here, basically, we're gonna have, we have to survey the property, which is gonna cost us in excess of 20,000, somewhere between 20 and 30,000. We have to do the legal, all kinds of legal work related to the property and to the bonds, et cetera. So this accounts for, gets us money to do all that, over and above what it actually costs to buy the, because we all know you buy a piece of property and then you get hit with the cost of
Sure.
borrowing and so on and so forth. And this 40,000 is intended to be used to cover those costs related to the purchase.
We're actually trying to apply for a grant also from the state, which if we are successful, you never know for sure, but if we are successful, we'd equal about $400,000.
That would be great.
That would come back and cover some of these costs.
That'd be great.
So hopefully we can keep our fingers crossed, and if we can get all this work done in time, just like application filed, we would stand at least a good chance, but we're not gonna get anything if we don't try.
right.
So,
I make a motion that we accept Article 15.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second, all in favor? Aye. Excuse me, Article 16, transfer 100,000.
What this article does is we obviously are all aware that we need a new fire station. And the present temporary buildings that are attached to the police station up there need to be replaced. They were really geared to be in use for 3 or 4 years, and we're into around 8 years now. And then, so that what this article does is it takes money basically from the sale of the library a few years back, which is the sale of funds, to be used to have a feasibility study, hire an engineer to come in and look at the property up there and work up estimates of what it would cost us to build a fire station and a police station, and make a decision whether it's in one building, an attached building, or 2 separate buildings. Those are all decisions that need to be made. But what the idea here is to get plans in motion, so that hopefully for next year's town meeting, we'll be able to come in for an article to say we want to borrow XYZ amount of money to actually get involved in the building of it. This project has languished for a number of years, and this is our chance to really get it going. And
Where are you planning on
desperately need a
building
fire
it?
station, and we desperately need police upgrading of their facility
Where are you planning on building it?
at the police station up
At the police
at
station?
Haverhill Street, yeah.
Is the feasibility study look at that at all, to see if that is the best place to put it?
We've looked, there was a committee that looked around for available land, and unless we want to go out and spend $500,000 or $750,000 to purchase a piece of property, we don't have, this is the only piece of town-owned land that's feasible to build this on. And in conjunction with this, probably what we'll do is, the police station's fine, being reconstructed right where it is. With the fire headquarters moving up there, we'd probably be looking at, having a 1-engine substation down at this end of town, whether it's the current building or another building, that remains to be seen.
So we'd still be leasing the existing building, is what you're saying? So this wouldn't replace the station that we have right now? Right?
Well,
fire-
Lease.
The police
as
station?
far as I'm concerned, it would,
Yeah.
but I mean, we got a way to go. But yeah, we're basically it'll change the fire department if this is approved, and we actually bonded the headquarters with 99% of the equipment will move up to Haverhill Street. And I'm assuming, and this is only my own guess, is that we would keep 1 engine, a small substation of sorts. If we could work a deal, it could stay in that station. You could add a bay onto the highway department, park an engine there. It'd strictly be a parking space, a secure building to park a fire engine, because a lot of the firefighters are over here, and a quicker response would be an initial response for this end of town. So,
Yeah, with
and
this,
all the fire recommendations are that you're supposed to have a response available within a certain mileage and time and stuff like that. So.
a lot of you firefighters live right downtown. So if there's a truck still downtown, they can get like to the school or to Seaview or places like that much quicker than if they had to drive up and then come back.
Gives you alternatives, and
Yeah.
what this does is this will hire an engineer to look at the property, and we will have to tell them what we are looking for. But as part of the feasibility study would be the 2 chiefs need to get together and say, look, this is what I need, and how are we going to do this? Do we make 1 building? Do we do 2? What do we need in each building, and so on and so
What
forth.
bothers me about this is, didn't we have a study about 7 years ago, I remember, or something, for a utility bill, like $50,000 that we spent or something like that, and that never went anywhere. So, all right, if I don't, I can see spending the money if we really go forward, but just, I remember before we spent money on a building, and there was all this talk, I went to the town and everything, and then nothing went forward on it, so it was
Well, I
like
mean, the
money that was
taxpayers-
wasted.
The taxpayers turned that
Right.
down. I mean, it
Right.
They voted
went
it down.
to the
Yeah,
town
it's-
meeting.
I know, so it's wasted if it gets turned
Well,
down
we have to
again. though.
keep trying. I mean,
$100,000 is not anything to, to sneeze at either, though.
we have to keep trying. In other words,
Yeah.
you take that police station up there, 2 years ago when we had all the snow, the roof almost caved in. You know, we're in trailers that are poorly insulated, heated electrically. I mean, it's just it's fine for a temporary facility, but we need a permanent facility. Fire department is just it's just a nightmare having in that building. We need, and if we have to come back to the taxpayers every year for the next 5 years, I mean, we need to do it. Particularly, you look around at the climate change and the kind of weather we have. You know, we need some decent buildings for our public safety departments to operate out of, and for our protection. Hopefully, we can convince people to go ahead and do that. And I think part of what happened before was I think there was they got a little carried away with
Was very,
designs and
very grand.
and stuff that was going to be in the building. And you know, I know this board of selectmen is looking at, you know, we need an austere, simple facility that will give us a fire and police department buildings that'll last us for the next 20, 25 years, without any frills, without, you know, excesses. And we're asking people to dip into their pockets. It's going to end up being an override. And
We're asking them to dip
you're
in their
probably
pockets.
talking $6 or $8 million. I'm guessing, but you know, you're talking multi-million dollars to build this facility, and if people turn it down, then all we can do is, it's our obligation as town officials to present plans to the public, and the only way we can do that is to spend this money to hire someone to give us a plan.
But it's kind of hard because we have this ladder truck thing that's gonna be
Yeah,
like
it's-
$700,000. That's gonna cost the average taxpayer $100 more a year on their tax
But
bill.
the problem, Peter, is that we've
And
had
so,
number of years we've done nothing. I mean, we've poked around the edges, and it's Pied Piper is on our doorstep. And if the people turn it down, there's nothing we can do. I mean, all we can do is present this stuff. We have the money available to do the study. Present it to the taxpayers and make a case that, same thing with the ladder truck. I mean, I'm sure there are people that will vote against the ladder truck, but you know, we just have to make a case and present it to people that if you want this level of public safety, it costs. Nothing is
why
for
is
free.
it 100,000? Where did that number come
Yeah,
from?
that's
Is
what I
that,
was gonna ask.
what?
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same question.
Because
The-
I mean, that seems like a lot of money to me.
We asked well,
I'm not sure it's enough, to be
You know, I don't think it may not be enough.
Okay, well, 100,000 is a lot to me.
It is, but I mean,
what we
not
did
enough
was
for the
we asked
study.
the chief, the police chief, who was involved with the last, he got in contact with the designer of the last facility that the taxpayers turned down. And he gave us a number of scenarios if you just want to do the police department, or, you know, add on to the police department or update it or whatever. And so he came up with a figure of 100,000. You know, maybe it won't be, but that's money we have that's available. If we need 200,000, and we got to dig deep because we're not going to have 200,000. We can't raise CPC funds for this. This is coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. So we'll if this passes, we'll go out to bid and get proposals and do the best we can. It's a matter of doing the best we can with the money we have available. And if it doesn't turns out to be not enough, then in the fall town meeting we'll come back and look for some additional money from somewhere. So
Well, it's very obvious that what we've been doing hasn't worked. I mean, it's been, almost pretty near 14 years. I was on the board my prior term, when we hired that consultant to do that work. So it's been 14 years we've been talking about this, and nothing's happened. We took things to the town meeting voted it down. Took them to the voters turned it down. Nothing's gonna happen unless we do something, and this is where we have to start. We have to do something. We have to look at that land. Is it suitable? If it's not suitable, we back up and try over again. But we have to get something going, because it's not getting any better. I don't know, Peter, if you've ever been in a burning building. I have. It's not fun. It really isn't, believe me.
Fortunately, Raleigh doesn't have too many situations.
Well, you can't plan on that, Peter. You can't plan on that. You can't say, well, we're going to appropriate 100,000 because we're not gonna have any fires.
Well, just look at the news every day, there's fires every day
There's an
lately.
awful lot of fires lately.
Yeah.
And I was on the building, when we built that police station 25 years ago, I was one of about, 5 or 10, 7 of us who were on this planning committee for that. At that time, the police department worked out of the town clerk's office here. And when we built that facility, well, the first time we went to town meeting, We designed it and presented a plan, the town meeting turned it down. I mean, we're working out of an office in the town hall, so we had to go back, redesign, make some changes, cut back.
Now, Dave, you gotta go back a little
And-
further,
Well, maybe, but
because before they were in the luxury of the town clerk's office,
They were down,
they were in Debbie's closet,
yeah.
literally.
But I mean, the idea here is that we, you know, we come out of the dark ages, we've gone through this route of going to the town meeting, we had a frugal plan, town meeting voted it down, they didn't want to spend the money. So we went back, reduced the size of the building, cut it back, and if we hadn't cut it back, maybe that building would still be adequate today, I don't know, but, you know, it's a situation that every year, it only gets more expensive, and building costs go up, and our needs are greater, and we spend more maintenance and more energy costs in these old buildings, and, I mean, we're between a rock and a hard place. So we, as a Board of Selectmen, all we can do is try to present to the public, to the taxpayers, and I'm sure it'll be a close vote. I mean, and we may not win, but, you know, I think our attitude on the Board of Selectmen at this point is if it doesn't win, then if we have to tweak the proposal and come back again next year, that's what we gotta tweak it and come back, because we cannot continue to operate with these facilities we have that are just totally inadequate.
Well,
If you look around, Newbury is going through the exact same process up there. They're going through the same situation, so I mean, it's,
In Ipswich, and they've just,
Ipswich is
they
doing-
have
yeah,
100,000
Ipswich is-
for a feasibility
Yeah,
study
Ipswich
for
is
their
doing-
police and fire.
that's right, they got $100,000 for their feasibility study for Ipswich, which is a much larger
But
community.
they're not building a $13 million water treatment plant right now that we're,
Well, I mean,
this
what-
town is absorbing this huge thing. My water bill's gone up double and.
Yeah, we understand that,
Probably
Peter, and that's
more,
what each
and,
taxpayer is gonna
you know.
have to decide for themselves when they go to the polls, what, you know, can I afford to pay this? I mean, you got school costs are gonna be coming along, we need some major renovations at the school. I mean, that's one other thing we're gonna work on in the next year or two, is roof and, you know, boilers, and, I mean, there's,
Well,
we just
Never
think we're
ending.
turning the corner, and there's always something, just like your
Right.
household, every time you turn the corner, something new pops up. Well, part of that problem here is that if we'd have built that public facility, the so-called fancy one,
10 years ago.
10 years ago, we'd have it three-quarters or half paid for, and it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper than what we're gonna pay. So, you know, we have to pick up the cart and put the horse on it and run with it. And if we're not successful, then we come back and do it again, or tweak it, or whatever we have to do. We've got to make some, the town has to make some decisions, and the Board of Selectmen, what we're doing here is saying to the town, here's a proposal, do you want us to pay for it or don't you? If you don't, then we'll go back to the drawing boards and try to come up with something different. But at this point, the facilities have become so bad that something has to be done. If we're not gonna, you know, build a new facility, then we're gonna have to do some major renovations to the police station for maintenance, and the fire departments. I mean, there's no place to go with that. It's on a small postage stamp sized lot. It isn't owned by the town, and, you know, you can't, how do you make that any bigger to fit the equipment we got? I mean, it's just totally, unreasonable. So,
Is
you
the
know, like I
board,
say, it's not easy decisions, and each taxpayer has to look at it and say, yep, I'm willing to spend the money, or I'm not. And if you're not willing to spend it, then understand that the consequences are that, you know, maybe we'll be parking a fire engine out under one of those canvas tents. You know, maybe that's where it'll come to if we don't get, well, I mean, the
$95,000.
reality is the fire department, there's no room, there is no space. I know they were talking with the water department out parking some vehicles up at the water department, some of their equipment, some of the emergency management stuff is at
Yeah,
the
the
water
emerg-
department, because there's no room.
The trailer.
Yeah, there's no room. I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Is the board considering maybe getting a building committee to kind of, you know, I know the two chiefs would definitely want to have
Yeah,
certain
we haven't
things,
really
but
discussed it yet. We're just, our goal now is just to get this thing started and sit down with, you know, with the two chiefs and see what they're looking for, and then you know, who knows at this point.
but what I'm
just
saying,
how
if you
we'll
had
do it.
maybe a concerned, you know, a citizen and somebody in finance or whatever, they could kind of check and balance so that we don't end up with this grandioso plan that maybe
Yeah, I think
might
we're
not
looking
be-
at a small group,
yeah,
because you
a
get too
check
many
and balance
people, it
type of
gets,
thing.
bogged down, but yeah, a small group, and obviously, any meetings that they have would be, everybody is welcome to come in and listen and look and keep the public updated. At this point, we really haven't got into that at all. All we're looking at is
We're just trying to get off.
we just want to get off the ground with this,
Right.
and then go out and look for what it's going to take to get some proposals in, talk with some engineering firms or consulting firms, whatever does this kind of work, and say, what do you do everywhere else? What does everybody else do?
Is there any grant money available for any of this?
Grant money is,
It's all dried up.
the last
Is it,
kind of
yeah?
grant money was for the library, and since then, the state is, they come around and inspect your facilities all the time, but they're not ready to give you any money there's really no, grant money is just, today is almost
They
non-existent.
come around and tell you what you need to do, and then we'll give you the money to do it.
I know the fire department gets a lot of grants for different things because
They
of,
do, but it's generally small stuff.
yeah.
For equipment rather
It's
than,
it's more equipment things, it's,
Buildings.
20 here and 10 there and 5 somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else, and you're not talking this kind of money with grants anymore. I mean, Homeland Security was the last time any of that stuff happened,
Yeah.
and that's long.
But they give you money, stuff for schools, though. The state gives money, I thought, for,
Yeah, they do school grants are-
grants, they give you that.
even though they're down to about 50%, they used
But
to be
it's
60,
still-
70%.
it's-
they're
Can we
down.
spend
Still-
school money on fire stations?
No, but I
don't think so, Peter.
Well, that is the one,
But the Pine Grove School is another argument that you could make and say that it's
yeah, so if we need
outdated.
8 million, the state will pick
Yeah,
up
no.
4 of it, and we still need to come up with 4 million for ourselves.
But they're still
There's no
giving-
easy out, even.
But they're
even
still
with
giving
the
money
grants
though
of
for the
state
school, they're contributing something, where if we went the public safety building, we're out, our own on that, come up with all
Yeah,
the funds
it's-
for that.
The
So,
the important thing is to come up with ultimately to come up with assuming this passes, to come up with a design that's frugal and very doable at the, plain and simple buildings. But we're looking for plain vanilla buildings and plain vanilla facilities that will get us through for the next 20, 25 years.
We want the townspeople to tell us what they expect. What do they want for a facility? We've been talking about this thing since
no,
2000.
but it sounds like it's, let me just ask, this is like just plain a devil's advocate. If you ask people their choice, I'm not gonna say I'm in favor of one or the other, but if you ask people would they rather see have a brand new school facility building in this town, or would they like to see a public safety? I think a lot of people would probably say, they would rather see a new school,
That's a
People
choice
who
people
come-
have to make. That's why I say we need to give
that's-
people a choice as to,
Yeah.
over time.
But that's, I think, people who, young families starting out who look for places to live in and stuff, the school
Now,
is a
let
big
me ask you this
piece.
question, Peter. That same person who said, I want the school instead of the fire department,
Yeah,
or the police department, now has an emergency at their home, a medical emergency or a
I
fire.
know, that's different, they don't think about those things as much, I know.
Right.
So we're gonna be derelict in our duties if we don't propose fixing these facilities.
Mhm.
Well, and the other thing,
We just can't sit here and say, oh, well, they're gonna want school, so the heck, well, we won't do anything for the public safety.
Mhm.
Can't do that, Peter. I can't do that as a selectman. We
we have,
have to go forward with this. We have to try. If we don't succeed,
Mm-hmm.
that's their call. It's not my call, it's their call.
There was a woman in town, a former select woman, who was death against the fire department in every way, shape, or form, until she needed them. And then she made the comment, they're really nice to have when you need them.
Exactly.
well, we're not looking for a new school. Bob and I met with the superintendent and the business manager and the facilities manager for the schools, and they're not looking for a new school. What they're looking for is to be able to, in the state, in previous times, the state, when times were great, what the state said was, we're not spending any money on renovations, we're only gonna build new schools. Well, those days are gone. The state now says, we will help you renovate
Renovate.
schools similar to what we were doing and still are doing with new school buildings. So that what we would be looking for, and in fact, it was, I believe, Pentucket or Groveland, one of the towns in the area just got, like a $4 million, $5 million project to renovate and upgrade the school building. Because, right now, there's the student population, usually in the past, when we put the big addition on to Pine Grove, the school population was increasing by leaps and bounds. We had no place to put kids. It was either build a school building or put portable classrooms out there. We're not in that position now. The school population is leveled off, or it's even decreasing, so what we need to do is upgrade the present facilities we have, which can be done for a lot cheaper than going out and trying to build a brand new building. But I mean, that's getting away from what we're dealing with here. Yeah, we need to, that's in the mix. And a water treatment plant, fire station, a police station, a school, buying a police cruiser, buying a ladder truck. These are very expensive decisions that every taxpayer, every voter has to make. And our role as selectmen and people's role is, we see it as finance committee, to say, yeah, these are the things that we need. These things. We're presenting you. You have the vote. You make your choice. Do you want one or the other, or can you afford both? And that's the decisions in the next 3 or 4 years that are going to be made. There'll be a lot of frustration expressed and a lot of gnashing of teeth, and I'm sure a lot of disagreement over this, that, or the other thing, but that's where we are, and that's where we need to go to move forward and to protect public safety as well as education and our water. So I mean, it's they're tough choices, and you know, it's our lives, and we need to present it to the taxpayers and move with it. I don't think there's much else we can say, really. It's just put it on town meeting floor and let the people vote.
It's up to the people.
And ultimately at the ballot box, when there's overrides and stuff, to actually fund some of these projects, this being one of them.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Make a motion that we accept Article 16.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second. Any other discussion? Please, no.
Thank you.
Bye, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Aye. I shouldn't editorialize. Article 17. Going to be a lot of discussion on this. Appropriating $634.80 to pay for an unexpected shortfall.
Yeah, basically the police department gets an E911 grant, and it turns out and I believe the chief said that it comes at the year after.
Yeah, and
this
this was
comes
a
behind, and it ended up being a shortfall, so that this needs a 9/10 vote because it's a year-old bill.
Right.
I'll make the motion.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or discussions? No? All in favor? Aye. Article 18.
There's no money in that, we don't have to. I don't think we have to make a recommendation on that one.
So I'll print Finance Committee recommendation not required.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing.
Same thing on the
So
zoning.
last
The
one was
zoning ones,
zoning.
too, so
Okay.
that's the end of the.
Zoning is not needed. Article 20, zoning.
Dennis, many years ago, the town voted a bylaw that said if there was not money in it, that we didn't have to make a recommendation.
Yep, that's good, that makes sense.
Okay, I noticed in our packet we have background information for the Valor Act, which references to one of the articles that we held in abeyance.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It was the one to accept the provisions for this act.
Article 26.
Right.
We're gonna make it from the floor, but,
We can make it now if,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
yeah, I
of.
mean, we got the
is
answer
that-
here, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty clear that it's one or the other, not both.
yeah.
And there was a question about the total.
Yeah.
right.
That-
we
That's
total.
all right, spelled out
Sean
for
said
us.
it'd be, the program will be cut off to $10,000 like the other program, so it's not unlimited amounts of money.
Can they put that as an, part of the explanatory note, you know, with this article, just add maybe that there, because that will probably be the same question somebody else might have. It would be just a sentence or two. What do you think on that?
Yeah, something to the effect that the program is capped at 10,000.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that possible, Debbie?
Yeah, usually the selectmen will take that vote, but they're in no position to take the vote because we legally can't, we don't
Can't
have,
change.
we haven't accepted the statute yet. But, you know, it is the intent, and I can put that in there,
Well,
that
this-
the program will be capped similarly to the senior tax credit program at 10,000.
Well, plus, at this point, the question's been asked, we have the answer. If someone brings it up at town
Yeah.
meeting, we'll be ready for it. And
You have the answer.
Part of it is, even if you can't write it in here, as long as we're prepared. That's why these pre-meetings with you people and
Yeah.
Right.
upstairs
Yeah.
are good, because
Right.
there's always questions that you say, oh, I never thought of that, so this, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I can still have time to add a sentence in there if I need to.
yeah, it probably takes a vote of the selectmen to actually establish
It
that,
does,
right? So
um,
we're not gonna have time to do that, so
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
so-
leave it at this, and then,
okay.
we'll just, if we get a question on that, we can explain it at town meeting. This is,
Yeah,
Okay.
just
I
a
doubt that-
piece of information.
I doubt that anybody's gonna vote against the
Yeah.
veterans at this point anyway.
But we can still change from the recommendation
Yeah.
from the floor
Yes,
to,
yeah.
okay.
I make a motion that we recommend this.
Article 26.
Okay, Article 26.
I'll second the
Okay.
motion.
And seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that takes care
It was
of,
very nice to have quick responses to our questions.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that was
Appreciated
great.
that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure that you get what you need right away.
okay, so that concludes the special town meeting and the annual town meeting warrants. At the town meeting, do I have anybody volunteers to do the finance committee recommending? All you have to do is just say finance committee recommends.
I'll do that for you.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that.
Okay,
Okay.
Jamie?
We can all, we usually,
Rotate
in
it
years
around.
past, just,
Yeah.
everybody would take a few articles and do
Okay.
I'll
it.
do it.
And now we're
Okay,
sitting at the
Dennis,
table to do
all right.
it rather than getting up, is that what I,
Yeah, we can,
yeah.
we'll set it up so that, I think it saves time.
yeah,
It's much easier if you have what you need, your microphone's right there.
right there,
Right.
yeah. I
The
noticed that
moderator
last
would be
time.
more than happy to do it that
Split
way.
it up like we
Most
always.
towns do it that way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just split it up.
I mean,
Okay.
as
Do you
before
wanna
previous years, I go
participate,
and sit
Yeah,
on the
we
stage
got
and
up.
and
Okay.
wait,
Yeah.
get up and do it, so
Okay,
this is much
so,
nicer.
all right,
bring
Jamie,
my
Sharon,
pillow for those hard
Dennis,
seats.
and
That's
Peter.
the one thing.
I'll,
Janet's not here though.
right. Well, I'll let you four figure out how you want to do it,
Okay.
so.
What I
let's see.
love is the fact that we don't have to read Article 4.
Yeah, I think a lot of towns, you know, they do that. They just do the summary, they, you know, and actually, you know, Raleigh has a comprehensive line item budget. You
Yeah.
find larger towns, they've consolidated that. You don't really see it, but,
Yeah, most times you're just dealing with.
some of the stuff is
totals, you know.
passed out that day. I know
Yeah.
in Ipswich, that's all presented at town meeting.
Sometimes,
We, I think,
like in
was the same.
Linfield, they put like 4 or 5 or 6 articles that are similar, they're non-controversial, they'll put them all in as a one vote for all
Yeah.
of them.
Right.
And then just deal with the,
Yeah.
you know, the questionable ones.
All I know is the year that I came in and the finance chairman couldn't do it and I had to stand up and do it.
Doing it all night.
It seemed to last forever.
Yeah,
Well, we're trying to do anything we can to expedite the meeting.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. is,
Right.
you know, Like we have that consolidated article,
yeah.
the boilerplate for the
Yeah.
street lights and all that, just one vote. The revolving funds, it's just routine things that, you
Yeah.
know,
Makes it a
people
lot
have the
easier.
ability to object, but at least if there's no objections, then you can vote it very quickly and
Right.
move on to the things that are gonna generate discussion, which some of these articles will, I'm sure, both of them, on both warrants.
Okay. I know last week, there was a question on some of the unspent warrant items. And I don't have it for this year, but I was looking at last year's when I did this, and this just kind of gives a breakout of what some of the
Dusty money.
right some of the items that are still have funds available, but have been on the books for quite a while. You know, like
Old Nancy.
Old Nancy. There's
Touch old Nancy.
Untouchable. I'll have to fight you on town meeting floor.
No, that's right.
That's,
Nothing is sacred.
yes, old Nancy is.
So what the
But
town
anyway-
accountant will usually do, it's actually under her statutory authority to sweep any of those in. So she will consult with the parties that have submitted those articles to town meeting to find out where things stand, or if there's an intent to go back to town meeting to repurpose it for a variety of things. We did that a year ago at the special town meeting. We repurposed several articles. Some were bonding, some weren't. So she will go through that exercise usually at the end of the fiscal year and just see where things stand.
Right. Some of the things, like I think there was like a handicap study or leftover money for handicap, which they look at and say, well, we can still use that line item or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, it gives you kind of an idea of what's there. And that was just kind of compiled from digging through the appropriated report, for either the month or the year to go through.
And that will be in the town report too.
Right.
That's published every year.
So we have to why does some of this stuff go unrecognized or not noticed? Why? I mean, why is it like there's $20,000 for what's that? G&H paving and stuff. What's that for? Paving.
I don't know what yet, because I don't have it in front of me.
It's under the highway budget, there was probably some chapter 90 money that they used for
G&H paving, I
SEC
don't know.
G&H paving $20,000. $43,000
Yeah.
for commander vehicles and radios that wasn't used.
I think what we'd have to do is get together with Debbie or Sue on that particular thing.
What happens with a lot of these articles is we get bid, we ask for a bid price, in other words, we check with what's it gonna cost to buy 10 radios, and they give us a price. And we raise it higher to make sure we have enough money. Well, then sometimes it comes in lower or whatever, and so that you end up, a lot of these articles, there's just money left over as when things were bid out. And what we try to do periodically is, take the money, scrape a bunch of articles together and buy something, spend it on
But,
a
To the
new
extent
purpose.
possible, we would try to give it back, as the example that Dave cited, maybe it was fire department that bought those radios. So if he's got $50, $75, a couple of $100 left over in that particular article, a couple of years from now, he may come back and want something else, we can take that money out and give it back to him.
So they have to. Do they have to wait a couple of years though? Like
No,
why
you don't
isn't?
have to.
No.
But
You don't
why
have
isn't
to,
it?
but-
I'm just curious why the department heads aren't like more into in top of. I mean, just to me it seems like why wouldn't they necessarily know if they have monies that are available? Why wouldn't they want to use it for the next following year budget?
They can't unless it's reappropriated.
Yeah, it's got to go to
Unless
town
it's
meeting.
See, what happens is we get their request, Board of Selectmen gets their requests, and then we end up going back and saying, a good example is this $100,000 for the building. In other words, we have money from the sale of land, which was the old library. We need $100,000 for the study. Okay, do we raise and appropriate that, or do we go back and say, okay, here's money it was land money, so why not use it for a land purpose?
Yeah.
And so it's the board basically makes, along with the town administrator, we make those decisions. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of money tucked away here and there. For the most part, it's relatively small money. And all of a sudden, something comes along that you need something for, okay, fine, let's use that and use it up.
And periodically, that will be swept into the general fund, those
Yeah.
balances. If the department head says, yeah, I'm all clear now, I don't think I'm gonna need this, or I don't think I need to add to it. As you know, on the special town meeting warrant, we we had several transfers that were added to existing articles that are probably shown on the list that you have there. So they are still open and things like that, but it's on a case-by-case basis, and I wouldn't be able to answer.
And also, these are not part of the budget of a department, for instance, the fire department. This is a one-time purchase. It isn't part of their regular budget, so it isn't like they can just say, okay, fine, there's $1,500 here, I'll put it into the wage account or something. It's over and above. And
Yeah, it's a separate article voted at town meetings like the old entity account, 1977. Actually, before 77, because you were doing the bicentennial. $2,000 to paint it and fix it up and get it ready for the parade. Well, it's still there. So if I need to paint and get it ready for the big 75th, the money's still there to spend. Simple as that.
You got like fire department design, I think it's 11,000, you might be able to use that towards 100,000 that we were trying to
Well,
get.
again, that was, this was for fiscal year 13, so I don't know what's transpired for
They may have
14.
spent some
You know,
of
it could have been
possibly.
Yeah.
spent or zeroed out
Yeah.
or so, but just, in general, I gave you that just to give you an idea of what some of the things were, that's all.
Besides, look at all the interest we made on that $200.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might cover the increased cost of the paint.
There you go.
Or the paintbrush.
Yeah, from $20 a gallon to 89. Okay,
Sorry.
let's see, next thing would be the solicit applicant for our finance committee open position. We're still in need of one more person to help us out. No experience necessary, qualifications are a Raleigh resident and willing to work helping your community. So if you're interested, please submit your information to the town selectman or John Peterson and take it from there. Item 4, minutes of the meeting of April 1st.
Mr. Chairman, I just saw two small typos that, I don't know if we want to look at them or not, on page 4.
Okay.
Weston was spelled wrong, minor thing, Weston Sampson. And then on page 10, I'm sorry, on page 7, he had Chairman Snow calling the motion for adjourning, so.
Yeah, I did. You got promoted.
That's just because of the trick of the trade here, where I'm used to writing selectmen's meeting minutes, so.
Oh, maybe I resigned at that point. Okay,
I'll have Dory make these edits and these typographical changes.
okay. Can we approve the minutes with the typographical changes?
Also move.
Okay,
Second?
second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next meeting date.
Yeah, just for your information, where the Board of Selectmen on the 28th, right?
Yes.
At 7:30 is holding an informational meeting on the warrants, town meeting warrants upstairs.
Basically a public hearing type meeting.
It's like a public hearing, the public's invited to ask questions and concerns, so if you wanna,
You said 7:30?
7:30,
The 28th?
if you wanna be there as individuals, or if you think that they should be, you
I'd love
could
to
be
be
there as a
there.
board if you wanted to, or you could just, we're no, the town isn't voting on anything, it's more or less to give people a chance who, when they get their warrants, have a few questions and to get things settled kind of before the town meeting in hopes that the town meeting can move along a little better. And it also gives us a chance to publicize some of these issues, so.
This is on the 28th, you said?
28.
Right.
So select-
That's
try to select the
Monday,
meeting on
right?
Monday night.
That's a Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we still need to do a recommendation on the water. When do we expect to have that
The
information?
night of the meeting, probably, or.
Yeah, unless they, according to Jamie, they may have finalized some of the revenue information, in which case, if I do find out tomorrow morning if they have, we'll have a revenue table that won't show anything for fiscal 15, that's what I have there now. If they've got the fiscal 15 data, that will be in the warrant. Certainly, you'll get a copy of that warrant in advance of it being mailed out anyway. You would have a chance to have a meeting before then, I would think, to go over that, because you may want the water board back in again. I'm guessing the water board's gonna be going to the selectmen
Yeah.
prior to town meeting, and they should be doing that with the finance committee as well. So, I'm thinking if they may have made some decisions tonight.
They have, the water rates are not going to change. They're going to stay exactly as they are now. And it appears that their budget is finalized.
So they have, they've approved the various revenue accounts for rate revenue, and then they had service liens, interest, all that stuff, okay. So hopefully I can get that into the warrant, because the selectmen is signing it Thursday morning. So I would expect that they should come in to see you. If you want to give me some dates, I can work on finding out when they're available, so you can sort of have a special purpose meeting to cover this.
So regarding the water, you got that stabilization, that's what, 500 some odd thousand?
572.
So that's we're gonna have that certified, and you haven't decided what to do more than,
Well, that's already certified by the DOR, yeah. So that's a
And that
warrant
was
article,
last
but this
year,
was
so-
just
So-
a revenue.
so what's the next step with that then, the 500? some
Well,
odd
that will be
thousand?
set in a stabilization fund if town meeting approves it. And it can't be touched only by town meeting
Mhm.
and at future use.
And so it's supposedly more or less used to prevent any type of rate increase going forward, at least for this coming fiscal year, right?
Yeah,
That's what,
That's what the intent is, yeah. But it's not that the water board can use that funds now in a discretionary manner. If it's earmarked and put in a stabilization fund, they need to go and have an article, come back at a future town meeting, go before the selectmen, go before the finance committee, see if they get their support, go to town meeting, and pass by a supermajority vote. So that really sets that money aside and safeguards it, so it just can't be arbitrarily used to buy trucks and things like that, can't be,
I mean, it's like our stabilization.
You're
They can use
locking
it
that
for
money.
capital purchases to lower rates, but they can't do anything, once it's in there, they can't do anything with it without coming back before the selectmen, the finance committee, and the vote by town meeting. So if they decide they want to buy a truck or some big piece of equipment, they could request to take the money out of that stabilization fund and spend it, but they have to go through the whole budget process to do that. If they want to lower rates, which
It has to go-
I would think at this point, they're probably, if they can keep the rates the same for another year, and then we'll see, it's all depending on what it's gonna cost to run that, the plant up there, so that I think they're gonna keep rates the way they are, keep the stabilization the way it is, and then next year, at this time, they'll make a decision as to whether they can lower rates, or whether they can use some of that stabilization money to keep rates from going up any further, or there's a piece of equipment, or some other, something else that they need, so it holds it aside, just like our stabilization fund that we have, it has an amount of money in there that, if we want to spend it, we have to go through the budget process from A to Z, and they're gonna have the same process. I mean, it's good for them, they need to have some money available in case an emergency develops or situation develops where they need some money, so. But how it's spent is really, once again, up to the taxpayers, ultimately.
Is the water board meeting with the selectmen before the 28th or before town meeting?
we haven't set that up because I wasn't even sure where they stood.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I guess there's no,
I mean, I could talk to you, maybe we can have a joint meeting, I'm not sure, I need to make sure I can get the water commissioners available, even your meeting.
Time is short, it's gonna be tough to squeeze
Yeah,
something in.
and,
because
there's this,
you got a holiday coming up too for. like
the
our
selectmen are
selectmen.
meeting the
Right.
14th and the 28th, so if I find out that they're ready to come back and meet with the selectmen, I'm gonna try to book it for the 14th, because the 28th will be busy,
when is the town meeting again?
the 5th.
5th of May,
Right.
Yeah.
so,
It's Thursday, I think, right? It's always Thursday, right?
No, it's a Monday.
Oh, it's a Monday.
Monday.
I'm
Right.
thinking of something.
So there's really like the 29th, we could schedule a meeting.
Tired.
22nd or the 29th? Or, you
Either
know,
one.
if the water board comes to the informational hearing, we get them there, they can maybe give an overview of their budget.
Yeah,
And if you're in session, a posted meeting on that Monday, the 28th,
Yeah,
then
then
perhaps you could take your vote then.
that's true.
That's the only outstanding thing on the
Thing on
warrant
it, yeah.
Right.
that you need to take.
So why don't you post us for the 28th?
Okay, I'll do
I
that.
won't be available the 28th because I got
Oh, you're gonna
town
be
meeting,
working.
Yeah, yeah, we,
I'd love to be here, but
we understand that.
And then you can always reconsider, because then I'll post another meeting for the 5th.
Yeah, right. And that would be before town meeting.
That's
We would
right.
have a brief meeting before town meeting.
I'll post it for 7:30, and you can just convene
Okay,
upstairs. You can even make it a joint meeting if you're all gonna be there.
that means I have to sit in an uncomfortable chair instead of at home in my recliner.
Bring your pillow.
That I'll do.
On the 28th, why don't we make it for 7:15? Just so we're not interfering with people coming in and,
Well, we're not going to be able to meet until after the water department makes their presentation at the meeting that the selectmen are having upstairs. That's when we're going to
okay.
get the information.
Well, we can do 7:15 and take care of minutes and get that kind of stuff out of the way, minutes from tonight.
yeah, I just don't know if there's anything,
We can,
nothing else pressing, I guess.
no. So what I would
All
think
right.
we would do is after this meeting is over, we would go
Then-
to a little corner and have a little discussion.
After what meeting's over?
The,
The,
the meeting upstairs.
information meeting.
The
Right.
informational
What
meeting.
time they're gonna get over, around 8 or something? Or
Because you gotta read all the warrant.
Whenever
7:35.
everyone stops asking
Nine.
questions,
So we're gonna be
whenever everyone
probably-
stops asking
Well,
For the
questions.
most part, it should move along fairly quickly. I
Yeah.
don't think it'll get bogged down with the water department. It might get a little bit bogged down with the
the
Girl
last
Scouts,
time,
but
I think
most
there were
everything else
5
will
people
probably-
there, so.
It may help with the minutes. We could have, if you are in a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen and you start at 7:30 and you open jointly, then we have 1 minute taker.
Yeah.
And those minutes, so you could take a vote. You know, if the hearing is over at 8 o'clock, because the selectmen have another appointment after that, that will all be recorded down, and you can take a vote in joint session with the selectmen. Selectmen may, we may actually have, the selectmen may be doing the same thing as well if I can't get them in on the 14th. I'm really not sure right now what the availability is, and I have to get the selectmen's meeting posted for the 14th, Thursday morning. So, maybe that was the way we'll go.
Yeah.
Both boards will be in joint session and each will take their own vote. We'll all be under the one set of minutes, and then you can adjourn from that joint
Yeah.
meeting and go your way after you finish your
Okay.
business,
Yeah.
and the selectmen will continue on in their public meeting.
I think at your meeting, did I hear that the fire chief is going to do a presentation
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. on the
This is
needs for the
fine.
fire truck?
Yeah, so that might take a while, whereas if we have a separate meeting, I don't mind taking the notes. You know, it's not a big deal. Because we're not gonna talk a lot.
With that?
No.
Well, by the time they get to the fire, I think what the selectmen will do is work on the annual town meeting warrant, and after they go through the budget lines of the regular budget,
Yeah.
they can jump into the water budget. You'll go into joint
Session
session.
with
You
that,
can
yeah.
end the joint session after the discussion of the water budget, and if both boards decide that they want to take a vote that evening
We can, yeah.
on
Okay.
the water budget.
Wanna just do the joint?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think
Okay.
that's good.
Sure.
All right.
What
So,
time, 7:30?
And it's at 7:30?
7:30.
So we're back
I'll put it at 7:30.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn?
okay, have a motion?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for watching.